flash here. Earlier today, we had some indexes higher. We saw intraday highs for the Dow, the S&P, the transports. Not so much right now. Kind of straddling it. It's a lot to digest, but let's spin it forward. Focus on how events this week that already happened can help make you money next week. Who better to turn to than our traders at the New York Stock Exchange CME Group in the NYMEX? Happy Friday, Teddy. What a week it has been with the midterm elections and so much going on. Right off the bat, what's the biggest headline you saw this week that helped you make a decision to position for next week?
Well, I think, we talked about it earlier in the week, Liz, and one of the scenarios about the election is what you asked me, what I think the market would do if, and I said, well, if the Republicans run the slate, I said, I think we're going to have a better market short term, and I still feel, obviously, we've had that. I mean, today is sort of flat, but it's been a good week, and I think clearly they ran the slate, and I think the market tone is going to remain positive. So I think that's, for me, that's the highlight of the week on many levels. So you go into the weekend long, Teddy? The answer is that is a capital Y-E-S, but I would also tell you that the only mistakes that we have probably made over the last 4 or 5 years have not been stocks that we've stayed long, but rather stocks that we have sold. And the fact is, if you've been able to hang on here, in spite of all the naysayers, and clearly they've shaken the tree a few times, and they certainly got my attention more than one time. But the fact is, staying long has absolutely been the right thing to do. Now, maybe you might be wrong the long ones, like at the moment it's the energy stocks, but the fact is, on balance, staying long is absolutely where you want to be.
Okay, so he says a capital Y-E-S, Trent, going in long. But what is the one thing that you think investors, Trent, are missing but should really pay attention to?
Well, I guess this is sort of in contrast to what Teddy said. Longer term, I would agree with everything Teddy just said. I think that the trajectory is certainly up.
Define longer term. Somebody the other day said longer term 6 to 7 months. I'm thinking 6 to 7 months is now longer term.
I should clarify because I'm a short-term person as well. So longer term for me would be 7 months. Even by the end of the year, Liz, if you ask me, are we going to be higher at the end of the year than where we are right now? My answer to that would be yes. What I would draw investors' attention to is just how rapidly the S&P specifically recovered since just the middle of last month. I mean, if you look at the cash S&P, we traded down to 1820 on October 15th. All right, that's 3 weeks ago. We've rallied almost 12% in 3 weeks' time, and we're talking about potentially closing at all-time highs today. I just think that type of a move historically, there aren't many instances where you look at that and it's sustained without some sort of a pullback.
Always.
I'm not saying I think we test those lows.
And so goes energy, too, Jeff Grossman. We've got about 30 seconds here, but looking at energy moving higher now, getting a little closer to $79 a barrel. You had said, watch out, when it gets too low and people are saying it's going lower, might go higher.
Well, as I said, that holds true all the time. But now we've got a new thing I keep hearing now, polar vortex. That's the new thing. And now suddenly heating oil today lifted its head. Let's move the crack value. Crack value was out $1 today on heat.
Gas.
So let's face it, we're talking about a very interesting market. Now suddenly there'll be a turnaround here. We could see now a few dollars on the upside in crude. I'm looking at heating oil possibly going up 10 to 20 cents in the next couple of weeks, just on the fear factor that suddenly everybody who was so sure we were going lower suddenly has to now take a step back and look at the reality of the world.
I did pull out all the snow boots just to be prepared for once in my life.
Good
and
move.
The gloves.
Liz?
Yes.
Liz, if I can, and I don't mean to get into the oil conversation, but if you go back and look at a chart of oil for the last 3 or 4 years, every October, September, October, oil has taken a nosedive for the last 3 or 4 years, and then rallied as we got into the cold weather. So what your other guest just said actually is very interesting, and I think folks ought to pay attention.
Yeah, I agree.
You're spot on that, Teddy.
As we said, it's called winter. Jeff and I are matching today. We're both wearing purple. Listen, it's great to see all of you. You came to play. Thank you so much. We need to turn to break.